So we are here with Philosophy 225, Power, Politics, and Rights, Engaging Women of Color in Hartford, co-taught by Professor Marcano and Janice Fleming. We have our Trinity students and our Voices of Women of Color. And today we'll be discussing gentrification and its effects on Crescent Street, as well as sex and power.
Wow.
So gentrification is basically the process by which what people see as rundown minority areas end up being bought out and then reconstructed to have restaurants, office buildings, or in this case for Trinity, more dorms because of the recent influx of students. So this can have a negative impact on the people that have been moved out, but a positive impact on Trinity College. So how do you guys feel about this process?
I think that the dorms they're not just for the recent influx of students, but also because there have been such hot debates with campus climate that they're also being smart about it and trying to change the surrounding neighborhood. The bigger Trinity is, the smaller Hartford is.
So do you think this is maybe a way to appeal to a certain type of student that might be applying to Trinity? That they see that
Yes.
Trinity has a foothold on Hartford rather than the other way around?
Yes.
It's also about money, because the more people you admit, the more money you get. And like we said, we need 65% of students to be full payers in order for 35% of students to be able to come to Trinity and get financial aid of some sort, because we don't have a large enough endowment to be need blind. So the more people we allow and admit into Trinity, the more we have to expand, thus the more money we get. So we don't really care about who we're displacing, because as a private institution, we have the right to do that.
Yeah, I definitely think it has to do with the reputation too of the school, like being able to place this figurative gate by expanding their property and being able to be like, well, look how easy it was. Like, yes, people are so scared of Hartford, but look, we can just go in and like take it over. And they're not so scary, like they're much more so dominating over them.
But where does that leave the displaced? So we talking about displacing people because Trinity wants to expand their dormitories for the outsiders, so the locals get displaced.
Not just people, families. Some people been living here for generations, and all of a sudden.
So is it okay to displace families? You displacing families, you displacing small business owners just because you want a bigger profit and more control of what goes on in the city of Hartford, especially in that area.
I think a lot of students are ignorant of the outside of Trinity and what's going on in displacement. I don't think they take that into
Not to mention that I don't know, maybe Trinity does help the people that they displaced, but I highly doubt it. I highly doubt that they help them try to find a different place to live or give them options. So maybe that's something that Trinity needs to start doing, is offering other options and other places to live.
It's not everybody that they displace that they giving money to move.
Exactly.
Some people, they just get, hey, you got to be out by this day, closing the building down, X, Y, and Z. They have nowhere to go, have to go to a shelter as their last resort.
That's what I'm saying. I think Trinity needs to take more accountability in their actions of purposely displacing people and helping them, consciously helping them find a different place. If you're going to displace someone, find them a place.
Exactly.
But like, is that okay though? Like, is it okay to displace somebody and then like find them a place?
No, because it's only benefiting like the bigger institution, the one who has power.
It's their selfish reason. They're not looking out for the well-being of the people that's being affected by this.
And a lot of them have lived there their whole lives.
Yeah, some people.
Yeah, exactly. Like, from their home.
If you think about it, while it's very beneficial for Trinity and Trinity's campus and their ability to expand and educate more students by bringing more students into Trinity and allowing them to live on campus, while that's good for Trinity students, I think it's much more detrimental for the community, and kicking these people out I think is more detrimental to the community than it is positive for Trinity's community.
And I think it definitely heightens the animosity between the two powers. I mean,
and while Trinity students, they come here, they get educated, and then what do they do afterwards? They go back to their hometowns. they're not coming back to Hartford, they're not benefiting the community in any way. Maybe they are while they're here, but after that, they're going back to Darien, Connecticut, and
But I also think that if Trinity were to bring some options to help them relocate, that this could also be something positive because it would create jobs for people in Hartford and it would expand the college to kind of allow the students to kind of like further themselves into the city and maybe like reach out and help more communities through that.
I like Janice's point about making sure that not only like Trinity is helping people find different places to live, but that they're presenting them with multiple options. I think it's a lot to ask for somebody to uproot and they've lived someplace all their lives and they made this fortune for themselves or whatever they have, and then you tell them, well, we'll find you someplace to live, but it's a lot less than what you had. Like, I like her.
And it's hard to put a face to these people, but like some of these people were elderly, had their grandchildren living with them. Like it's hard to, you know, when you're somewhere for a long time and you're old at this point and you have to move and you have to find somewhere to live and, you know, your rent may be different and, you know, there's a whole bunch of issues with Social Security or whatever. It's hard. It's not easy. And I know there was a meeting with the Presidential Fellows and Jimmy Jones, and they said basically, oh, you moved them like cattle. And he was like, well, we paid them. So do you think that's a justification that like if you pay someone that it's okay to do what you want?
They don't even know like if they're qualified to even move into another place.
Certain places got waiting lists.
Yeah.
They just continue where they was living.
Credit,
Incomes.
credit.
A lot of people have fixed incomes and can't afford to be at another location. That's why they was at.
And I know a lot of elderly people, you know, that have been set in their ways, been living in a place for a very
That's why I
long
said
time.
that they content
And
by
then
being
when they have to
living there.
move, they not used to, you know, being in that place, and they've been in one place all their life. You know, people, you know, they get sick, start getting sick, you know, having complications of the health, you know. So
exactly.
when you start moving, you know, people that been somewhere for a long time.
yeah, and the money you get from Trinity only goes so far, and then what happens after that? You know?
Exactly.
Some of the people are not even, they don't even qualify to go someplace else, but they don't tell them that. You know what I'm saying? Like over there where Walmart, you know, what is that called? Flatbush Avenue.
Yeah, the old Charlie.
When they moved the people out, they offered them either Section 8 or they told them they could have one of those houses, okay? What they did not tell them was that their income did not qualify them to get the credit that they needed to finance the house. So if you didn't take the Section 8 when you could get it, then you were asked out. You know what I'm saying? And maybe, you know, they need, like, maybe the people who are getting pushed out need to ask a few more questions instead. I think basically a lot of them feel powerless.
Yeah, because some of
You
them-
understand what I'm saying? So
People that born and
therefore,
raised
they're
up.
not asking questions that are going to benefit them in the long run. They're like, oh my God, we got to notice in 90 days we have to get out. You know, what does that do to somebody who's been there 20 years? That's a big thing.
It's a mental problem.
You know
right
what
there.
I'm saying? So therefore, they don't have the voice of someone who's not in that situation getting pushed out to say, wait a minute, hold on. If we go from ABC over here to X, Y, and Z, do we qualify for these apartments or these houses? And, you know, if we don't, what are you going to do to help us to, you know, fit into the mainstream of this neighborhood basis, the one that we've been in for 20 years?
But looking at the neighborhood of Frog Hollow and its demographics, you have to understand that a lot of these people are Latino. They might not speak English. They might not be documented. So when you add those issues into this, and you're pushing out people that are scared to be to do anything, like you can't ask the question if you're undocumented because you don't, like you're not documented. People don't care about you.
Do you think Trinity knows that a lot of those people are not documented?
I think they know.
I'm sure they know.
If they don't know, they probably
When
have
we talk about
suspicion.
gentrification,
They look in the other one.
it's not just Trinity that's a part of it. You know?
No.
Trinity is, it's not just Trinity that's a part of it. It's the state of Connecticut, it's housing. They all come together and collaborate in order to move one class of people out of a neighborhood to bring another class in.
Yeah.
So, you know, and they figure out a way to do it to where the class that they're moving out are not used to anything. They're used to one particular area, and that's that area. So when they go, everything else goes. So it's just for that one class of people that they intended it to be for. You know, and who's to say that they're going to employ people in that community? They usually employ students, you know, and people that fit into the Trinity, whatever you want.
I agree. I think that when we speak of gentrification, we can also think about downtown Hartford and like the business district, and how most of the people who work in, well, Hartford's the insurance capital. Most of the people who work in those buildings in these industries aren't from Hartford. They're from the neighboring town.
Exactly.
So do you think that, is there a lack of access for the people of Hartford, or are they, does everyone think that they're marginalized? How do you think, why do you think that the majority of Hartford people who live in Hartford aren't working in this business district when there are jobs there? They're just not being offered to people who live in Hartford.
I agree with you.
I think it goes back to the permanent underclass. Like, they don't want them to work there. They want the white people from Glastonbury and from wherever to be in downtown Hartford. The same way that Trinity doesn't want people from the neighborhood in their neighborhood. Like, they don't value, like Jimmy Jones, I don't know if any of you guys read the white paper, but Jimmy Jones wrote about how Trinity students have nowhere to go off campus. There's no safe spots for us to go for fun, except look at Park Street. There's restaurants, there's bars all down Park Street, there's fun places to go, but that's not valued by Trinity. Imagine if students wanted to go to those places. Do you think that would change their perspective on the community and gentrification?
It probably would, because right now it's like Trinity is a fortress, and only Trinity belongs at Trinity. Everything else outside of Trinity has to go. So, I mean, of course.
They also feel like they hold the dominant role, so they don't feel that, you know, they know that what you were talking about before, they kind of assume that that voice doesn't exist. So they feel like expanding won't be an issue, and that they can do it without, you know, heavy resistance.
If Trinity students were to start going to these places on Park Ave, I'm just questioning, do you think that they would be accepted? Or do you think there would be...
Oh, no, to go, honestly. Like, I feel like within Trinity, like, as a junior, I feel like freshman year, like, everyone here is like similar things. Like, it's unsafe to go outside, like, to leave campus at night.
They don't make it feel so like it's...
I feel like if we break the cycle, if someone breaks the cycle and or like a group of people, a class breaks the cycle and doesn't listen, because it's all hearsay. Like, when the upperclassmen tell you, don't do this, don't go to Park Street, don't eat at these Hispanic restaurants, that's how, it's a culture. That's how the culture starts. Yeah, exactly.
But I feel like on Thursdays, Trinity's like trying to get students downtown, but I feel like it's like people don't take advantage of that. Like, there's the shuttle that goes downtown
a lot
to
of
the...
people use it.
Really?
Yeah,
I mean,
but they only feel official because they go to one specific
Yeah,
and you never get that city feel because you're going to the same place and coming back. And they even provide transportation for you so you feel safe and don't like wonder to take public transportation.
Not only that, it's only one bar. Trinity students will only be at Black Bear.
Exactly.
You don't see Trinity students at Sanctuary and Cemetery.
I feel like there's things
about there's Upper on the Rocks and there's Black Bear, and people only go to Black Bear.
Is a nice club.
Yeah.
I like that.
People don't understand that there's like, there's so much culture. Okay,
She's a logo though. What was the other topic that we had?
I know everybody wants to meet up at Spread on Fridays.
So let's actually tie gentrification into our other topic. So our other topic is sex and power. We already touched upon power by talking about the power that Trinity has versus the people who are being displaced, how they feel powerless. So seeing how most of the households are female-headed, how do you think that sex and power ties into what Trinity is doing in terms of gentrification? In terms of, do women have a voice? Do women realize they have a voice, or do they realize their options? Like, things like that. And we can also just talk about sex and power in terms of Hartford in general.
Trinity only allowed women into the school, what, 15 years ago?
40.
Huh?
40.
40? So what does that tell you how Trinity upper administration feels about the women's role? Not too much.
But it's not just in Trinity, it's like everywhere. Women don't have a voice, so they say. So they think that we don't have a voice. And a lot of like the gentrification. You got it so hard.
Got it,
It was hard. But yeah, so like they like to do that with people that don't know exactly what to do in certain those occasions. Like they don't like know really about like the housing rights and what they have rights to and what they don't have rights to. So they know who to pull that one and who not to pull that one.
This can like relate to like the feminization of poverty, because like most poor households in the United States are headed by women, and we know that there are certain groups who don't have access to all the materials that are available. So if you have a woman who is not educated and she doesn't know about housing rights, as you said, of course she's going to be the first one to be displaced.
I was talking to some of the women before we even started. The voices, women of color, the voices of the women of color, and I was saying that I really had admired how they have a way about them that they show their power, they know their rights. I feel that in this class that we have come like full circle to learn that it's that the coalitions that make a difference, and even though the people who are in the community are poor and have may not have degrees like a lot of the people coming into the city, working in the city have. Nonetheless, they have a definite power that they could what do you call it?
Like insert?
Yes. And what they would have to do would be to come together with different groups, because different groups share some of the same basic infringements upon their.
Well, when we talk about women of color and white women, you know, white women, middle class, upper class white women, their issues are not the same as women of color. See, when their issues is based on economics and social class, because half of the white women that have to be single parents now are divorced or into separation. They had an income. Their issues are not going to be the same as women of color who are single parents or single mothers raising kids. Their issues are not the same. The issues are rights. The issues are rights, because, you know, white women's rights are totally different from women of color.
That's true. So
they don't feel the same issues and struggles that we do.
I feel that the white women, I'm glad we got on the subject, are privileged, but I don't feel that the issues have to be the same. One thing about the problem of people who are underprivileged is that they don't have this people coming into their arena to shout out what they need the world to hear. So I don't think that the issues have to be the same. As long as there is a similarity, women basically share. Women basically share a lot of same issues, because a lot of the women have children, and
that's about the same thing they share.
Yeah, and
children.
And I'm saying that everybody, all women want their children to have the best in life.
True, I understand that, but also understand that only when it happens to a white woman, homelessness, loss of income and everything, is when there's the issue. women of color have been going through homelessness, jobless, not getting jobs, not getting good educations, and it's not talked about. Only then, when middle class and upper class white women start losing husbands and losing jobs and have to go stay in shelters, that's when it hits the news. Now everybody knows about it. It's all about propaganda and how you use it.
That's because the women of color are devalued. But I still feel that if these women find some basis to come together, that both their issues will be that much stronger.
They need a voice.
Well, I mean, just being women in general.
Just being women in general, but y'all ladies also have to understand that when we do that, they gain from our issues. You understand what I'm saying? Everything happens off of us, but they take the credit for it. So when you start working together, you gotta say working together, we really gotta work together.
But our agenda has to be in with
their agenda's not the same as ours.
It doesn't have to be the same. Ours have to be in other words, when you're brokering for a basis of power, you don't just go into joining up with somebody. You put your stuff up there with theirs. In other words, you bring your issues there too.
Well, you bring your issues, but see, their issues. Okay, let's talk about Angela Davis for a minute. And the first white female organization was all white. Okay, their issues were right along with racism and everything else. Now, it's not only did it not work for women of color, we was only invited when it was benefiting for them. Otherwise, our issues was left on the back burner. And like I said, middle class and upper class white women, only when it affects them does all women included. And that has to change. In order for us to all come together, that right there has to change.
That's it. That's the clincher. It has to change. I'm not disagreeing that it went down like that. But I'm saying that if I'm coming together to meet you, I'm not going to meet you if you're not having my agenda up in what's the point?
Because if you have a class of women that only think that women of color role is to promote teen pregnancy and welfare, they're not going to come together on those issues because they don't see our issues as true issues until it happens to them.
I think you have to think about the fact that women of color and white women, they're facing two different oppressions. Just like historically, they're oppressed by different things. So, for specifically for Black women, since we've been doing a lot of reading, Black women face we talk about like the double jeopardy of being Black and being female. So they're in a really marginalized place. And even when it comes to like feminist movements, the white feminist movement isn't for Black women, like bottom line. And I understand that like in the end, what you are saying is that like we need to come together and like we need to respect both agendas, but realistically, their agenda is not our agenda. And I just lost my train of thought.
I'm not even trying to say that the agendas are the same.
Because we have the same rights. We all have the same rights.
Right, because even within this room here, we all come from different backgrounds and so forth. We were raised differently, so forth and so on. But that does not mean that we can't have something in common.
Oh no, I definitely think they're common.
Because
I do think they're common.
One thing I learned out of this class is that, through the readings and through discussion, is that we can't think on we can't, okay, we're marginalized, but we can't stay marginalized in our minds. We have to get into more of a global thought, because not only does it help to come together coalition-wise, but we learn from each other. And what happened over across the pond somewhere, how women had dealt with some issues. If they messed up or whatever happened, we learn from that. So that's all I'm saying. I know our issues aren't the same, and in fact, we learned through Angela's piece that we should have coalitions with even men. Men's issues and our issues aren't the same, but the whole point is that there's something that you, when you have different groups, something that you do have in common. You'll find one little thing, and big things happen in numbers. Take the Trayvon case as an example. That thing wouldn't even have hit I mean, this thing blew up very big just because a lot of people came together through Al Sharpton and so forth, and then it went global. I mean, all the people who are involved in this, they don't have so much in common, so much with Trayvon and his and that case there. So I'm just saying.
I mean, the oppression is common, and I think that's enough to cause some kind of mobilization.
Yeah. But I think a good example to demonstrate this point is maybe like Carly could talk about this a little bit if I say it wrong. But when we were talking about the drugs in Glastonbury and in Hartford and how the Glastonbury parents, one of them lost a son to a farm party or something, and how that's their drug of choice, but that's not what you see in Hartford. It's not the same issue. Like they're passing legislation for these issues and the, what was it, like the Stay Alive?
It's Good Samaritan bill.
So when you have these people in Hartford that are not using pharmaceutical drugs,
narcotics,
those people aren't protected, but the Glastonbury kids that are throwing their pills into a bowl are. Like that's, even though it's both drugs, it's not the same, and that's where you have to be careful.
It's not just pills, it's heroin and opiates and the narcotic pills. So they're covered on heroin and opiates and narcotics. Isn't that a joke? But our babies is walking around here on dust
with cocaine
and mixtures of every kind of thing else, formaldehyde, and it's okay for them to go to jail.
And so what did you do? Remember we went over this thing in class.
It's not
as they want
cocaine. You get so many years, but crack cocaine you get a lot of years.
I mean, that's a whole nother issue.
Those women, those people want to get together with you. Remember when we looked at that, and then you all said no because a lot of the issues were not, a lot of issues in your community were not.
Are not their issues.
Right.
It wasn't in the bill.
It's not that they weren't their issues. They weren't even accepting them into that bill.
Exactly.
So why bother? That's what I'm saying. You you have the power to say no.
Not everyone does.
You know what I'm saying? It's just, I look at it on the same basis as if I'm to decide who I'm going to go out with, choose a man. If he's not offering me this, that, and the other,
that's you, but everybody doesn't think that way, and a lot of people have weak minds, and and sometimes it's pure pressure. And when young kids are under pure pressure, even though they don't want to do it, they do it.
Or they've been doing it just to
they'll do it, and it doesn't have anything to do with strength or just say no. When Nancy Reagan said just say no, she should have said just say no to herself, and she was anorexic. Okay, and so she promoted anorexia.
But I'm saying, look, I'm saying you have a whole lot of different coalitions possibility-wise to get out here. You're not going to have every one of them coming looking in your corner and wanting to even hear your issues. You don't bother with them. You don't worry about them.
But sometimes, what I disagree with, that other thing overweighs that. Now, when we talk about children and they died of overdoses, that's all children. We got to protect all children no matter what color they are. And overdose in Connecticut is high. So when we look at it that way, we chose the bill. But it wasn't a black and white thing. It was a inner city and suburban thing with me. And you got some black kids that's out there, popping pills too. My thing was they should have added some more to the bill. But the overall thing was the children and them overdosing. So how do we stop them from ODing? And what can we do to prevent it and bring it down?
Now they doing a new thing now there where they're swallowing hand sanitizer to get high. Now that's a new thing. Hand sanitizer. That's a new thing. That's the a lot of kids been going to the hospital. Hand sanitizer. So that's the new thing now. We add that on.
I think to bring back the conversation to power, we really need to look at the way that urban youth are criminalized automatically. Like, legislation isn't created to protect them; it's created to criminalize them and put them in jail. So what's really going on there?
Oh well, there's doggone 2 justices. That's a given. There's a justice for Caucasians and a justice for people of color.
A good example of this is the differences in sentences for crack cocaine and cocaine. And crack is used in black communities, right? Urban communities. Sorry, excuse me. Urban communities.
Powder is.
And powder is more expensive, but when people get caught with crack cocaine, they get bigger sentences than the other, and it's the same drug. They're just accessible in different regions, which is
one is cooked and one is not.
More justice for Caucasians.
They call it 2 different things.
But like how, I mean, they're essentially the same thing.
Yeah.
So how is that?
Because crack has the additives and it's more, cocaine is more pure.
That's where you're gonna find.
And that's
Cocaine is more expensive.
Yeah. Because crack is just watered down cocaine. They add a bunch of other stuff to make more volume out of it.
That's why they started making methamphetamine, because it was more cheaper, because cocaine is more expensive, so they trying to get out the easy way by making it homemade. So.
But back to your question, you said how do they justify? You mean like how do policymakers justify legislation? Like how do they make sense of it?
Like specifically that
Yeah,
law.
how do they make sense
cocaine,
of it?
crack cocaine. I mean, because they can't blatantly be like, oh, well, more urban people do crack cocaine, so we're going to say that's a harder punishment. Like, that's what it is. But they can't.
That's what they did.
No, but they can't.
That's what they did. That's exactly what
that's right.
they
Basically, she's saying what was
That's exactly what they did.
But what's the reaction of the people? Like, do they just allow it to happen?
Did I not say that sometimes a group of people do not have a voice? That right there is it. Do you understand where I'm coming from?
And they specifically target neighborhoods.
Of people
But what did we learn?
do not have a voice.
But what did we learn when we read Bell Hooks, who said that we do have a voice? We just have to find this voice and start using it.
But not everybody
That's
read
harder
the
than
book
it.
Bell Hooks.
Well, I'm just saying. Look. We read her. We read her. Look. I feel like on that note, the voices of women of color, they have read it. They have read Bell Hooks. Now, what do the voices do?
Not all of them, because I'm a voices. I didn't read the book.
They educate the community. So I mean, there again, power. Let us be thankful for the power that we are exercising.
But in order to push off your agenda, listen to me. You must find an audience that is receptive to what you are saying. You can't just stand there and tell them, hey, ABC was set back in 18 whatever.
No.
That's when we got, you must find people who are receptive to what you are saying.
That don't mean that we read.
Now I know what they said about that cocaine. If they had listened before they passed that law, if they had went down there on Park Street and said, hey, everybody listen to this. This is what they're trying to do. And explained it, they'd have had a lot of people up to the state. You understand what I'm saying? But that's not what happened.
There's not enough knowledge.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You understand what I'm saying?
But what I'm saying is that, okay, we read Bell Hooks. Yeah, but that don't mean we go into the community and start running Bell Hooks. What we do is incorporate it into our conversation in in a way that
leisure type way.
Well, I'm just saying in a way that could be
But
understood.
at the end of the day, you still have white people making decisions for brown people.
This is it.
It's not fair.
I like how you said that. So nicely put. Yes, brown people, because you know black.
People that just don't even know, that's where you got the powerless thing. Look, it's in my head, but I cannot break it down so that you will understand. It's here, believe me.
I think I understand what you're saying, but I think there's like a roadblock we're presenting. We're saying there's an injustice, but we're powerless. You can't pair the two together if you want people to listen to you. I think you have to present it in a way where you're presenting the information. I mean, I don't think it should be leisurely. I mean, that implies that it should be taken lightly, but I mean, everyday conversation. I think if we talk about issues as much as we talk about other people, we get a lot done.
Right.
And honestly, and you present the issue and you let people know that they have options. You can't present it in a way where you say, this is the issue, but nothing we can do about it. I mean, I don't think it really...
But that's why we need intermediaries and, organizations like the Voices of Women of Color, so they can be community organizers, but be able to connect the people to the policymakers. Because without that disconnect isn't going to go away. Because it's just the way that oppression works in the society.
That's what it is. That it connects the people to the dot.
I think.
And it's
I think that historically it's taught us, we've learned that when white women and black women pair together, it doesn't work. Because even if something gets done, black women are not a part of it, and so I think that minorities need to form collective. They play. Exactly, but I think minority women need to form a collective and collective power and do things on their own.
I think they should too. I think they should too.
Yeah.
But I don't think you should. You just say you're not going to be dealing with this group and that group. You should have you should have your own strong
base.
A collective coming together, but you should also your other goal should be to make connections outside of that. That should be for any group.
And I think the Voices of Women of Color do that though. You know what I mean? Like they don't only endorse minority candidates. Like, you know what I mean? They make their connections. So I think it's kind of knowing when to push it and when to pull back and when to fall back on your base.
Exactly.
So it's complicated.
You form a line in your mind. You have your boundaries, but it's not like what we were talking about with that color line kind of thing. It's another type of boundary. In other words, now you're looking for somebody to come to you on a certain level, and hey, if they don't, then hey, you don't have time for them. That's the way I answer. Yeah.
Every now and then, there's a strong voice of a minority. A very strong voice. And what it is in my mind is that, will we listen to that voice? You know what I'm saying? I mean, really and truly listen when that voice comes along. Like a Martin Luther King in a woman's dress. You know what I'm saying? Are we gonna be receptive or are we gonna miss it? That's what I mean, like when these issues come, we have to throw them out, but to people who are gonna be receptive and try to carry that on. You can't just shout it from the rooftop to people who are deaf and dumb. You know what I'm saying? Because then you're wasting your time. And that's why we have to find these spots where we will carry a message with a strong voice. But once we have that strong voice, we must learn to support that strong voice. 100%.
Amen.
Yes, Roz.
Close it out with that.
Yeah.
Blam.
No, you said it. You said it.
Yes, we can.
I'm gonna miss this class.
I miss you guys too. I didn't think I was gonna like the class, and that's the guys honest truth. I told them that I didn't, because I'm a very closed individual. I do things that one person can do by themselves real good, you know. But I have enjoyed all of y'all tremendously. I've learned, I've grown, and you know what? I'm getting stronger too. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, ladies.
Yes, we can.
Okay.